Hey everybody, welcome to week 6. So by now you should have finished up your structural model, and that might look something like this. So I took one of the massing models from SketchUp that I created, and I made this structural model here. Zoom out a little bit. So there we go. So far, pretty straightforward structure. We have all the right arrangements here with the bar joists and the beams. So everything is sort of working together. We have the rectangular columns down here, concrete columns, and then the footing and the foundation wall as well. So here would be an example structure. So you wouldn't need to carry this foundation wall through the building at these corners or anything like that in either direction, because really this is what the exterior wall is sort of resting on. Okay, so that is our structural model. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Okay, I want to just show you a folder to get you set up for this week. Okay, let me get rid of it. So if you ever see these files, these ones with the numbers after them that isn't your doing, those are backup files. So if you have nothing wrong with your files whatsoever and everything's working well, you can just delete those, say at the end of the day. Let me delete this one, we don't want that. So I have my structural model and my title block file in my week 6 folder. So this is kind of what I'm starting from. It's going to be important that you keep these files together. So, because we're going to work with all of them in some way, but we're going to basically start our architectural design office model now. So that is what we're doing this week. What we're going to do is we're going to have our architectural model that we're going to create here, and we're going to link in our structural model. And then we're going to sort of set up our file and get it ready to go, including adding structural sheets, because we've kind of done the structural legwork already, as well as starting to add some floor plan sheets and some exterior walls, things like that. So we're going to start to skin this thing, and we're really going to start to detail it out. So I had you make the structure model separately so that we don't sort of mess with the structure. It's set in place. Let's make sure that doesn't move. So when all the models are sort of together in one file, there's a tendency for things to sort of shift and move around. So sometimes it's nice to sort of split up our models. So we split up the structural, and now we're going to do the architectural. We can always go back to each. They're going to the structural is going to be referenced into the architectural. So anything we do the structural will always be shown in the architectural. And in the architectural files where we'll do all of our sheets, including the structural drawings. So really all you need to do is work out of the architectural file, but you might go back to the structural file from time to time as you change your model or as you add an extra bay or whatever the case may be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just start a new project file, and I'm going to do a default template, much like we did for the start of the structural. Okay, so here we are. So everything, it's an empty file. One thing I want to call out in the project browser that a lot of you have had questions on is we have ceiling plans in here as well as floor plans. Right now, only concern yourself with the floor plans. Just ignore the ceiling plans, okay? And I'll explain what ceiling plans are as we get to them. But really what we want to concern ourselves with are the floor plans as well as the 4 primary elevations. Okay, so this is our empty architectural file. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to go to Link Revit, and then I'm going to go to that folder that I just showed you. That's in Documents. So it all depends on where your stuff is located, but if you're working remotely, I might suggest bringing some of these other models onto the computer you're using working out of a folder on the desktop and then going back and forth with that folder onto the OneDrive to save everything. And then in your next session, turn it on again and then start from scratch there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click Structure 01. I'm going to not change any of these settings and just hit Open. Okay, our structural model immediately gets placed right here in the file. So this is mine. Looks like a cross. One second here. Okay, so here is our cross here. One thing you'll notice is that you have these like elevation markers. Well, that's what they are. These are elevation markers if you didn't notice those already. And right now they're kind of like just like in my drawing and I don't really know what they're doing. Here's what I would do. I would position these outside of your structure. So I'm going to just do it on these sort of primary ends here. These are just these are elevation markers pointing at what side they're looking at. So right here is an elevation. So this is your your west, your east, your north, and your south. And those are all located right here. Okay, so far we've just brought in the structural model. Here it sits, right? Okay, and I can see it in level 1, but my level 1, it's not actually showing all the pieces. Like I can see the columns and the grid lines. And on level 2, let me see, did I get there? No, let me double click that again. On level 2, oh, looks like it is showing some of the structure. Like what the heck is going on here? Why is it showing up here, but in level 1 it's not? Well, in level 1 it's not because there isn't any structure on those lower levels. In level 2, you're seeing the beams below on level 2 as well as the dash line to show where the joists are. Okay, so these are our architectural floor plans and they're showing quite a bit of information. So we want to sort of clean things up a little bit. So first things first is that we need to just make sure this is meshed in with our model. So here's one thing to think about. Remember in our structural model when we made levels, right? So if we made levels properly, we had a top of footing, a level 1, a level 2, and a roof. At least that's what it was for my project. Yours might have more. Okay, so I'm going to go to the south elevation. Here is my south elevation, and it looks like, it kind of looks like is it getting cut off? I can't tell. I don't think so. So my south elevation is showing my structure. If I go down to my view display over here and change it to fine, I can see a little more detail in there. But one thing you'll notice is that I have a level in here. It's level 1 and level 2, but there's also these other levels in here that are associated with the linked file. So we need to create levels that match up with our linked file. First thing I'm going to do is just click on my level 1. I'm going to grab this little circle here and drag it over. There we go. So these are the only two files, only two levels in this architectural file. So I want to match this one to the level 2 that I currently have in my structural file. So I'm going to go to Modify Align, and I'm just going to grab the top of level 2 and click level 2 to slide that one up. That I'm close, but not quite there. If I turn on my thin lines, I can get there. I'll grab the top of level 2. There we go. Now that's at 15 feet. Likewise, I could have just moved that to 15 feet. Now for the roof, I will just copy this up 15 feet and I'll change the name to roof. And I'm going to make a top of footing level down here. I'm just going to copy this down 4 feet. And I will call that top of footing. There we go. So we've matched up our levels to our linked file, so that's good. So we're working in the same way that the structural engineer is. In this case, the structural engineer is us. Okay, the only other issue is we don't have any of these grid lines in there, and we're going to want those. Okay, so I'm going to go to the floor plan. I'll go to my level 1, and let's get these grid lines in here. So I'm going to go to architecture grid. I'm just going to trace over this one. Put a 1, 2, boom, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then I'm going to go right to A here, and I'm going to go. Now it's going to number it 8. That's fine. We'll change that in a minute. So here would be B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay, so I'm going to go up to my 8, and I'll just make it an A. I'll go down the line here and change all these so they reflect. So they reflect exactly what's in the structural. Now, typically, A, B, C, D, the structural would be maybe mimicking what we're doing or the other way around. We just sort of have to work together is all I'm saying. F and G. Okay, there we go. So now I've got my grid lines in, I've got my levels in, I've got my structural model in. So I can check that by just making a 3D view. So there's my structural model. Okay, that looks good. And since I just made a default 3D view, I'm going to rename this, and I'll call it 3D architectural. There we go. And in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and hide these levels here. I find them obnoxious. Actually, I'll just grab one of them and I'll say hide in view category. There we go. So now I can just see the structural linked model. That's fine. I might go ahead and change some of my graphic display settings. I'll put it on shaded, smooth, and I'll put on ambient shadows. Okay, that looks better already. Okay. Your joists might be a little tighter than mine. Mine are 3 feet apart. I think I initially said to do 2 feet, which is fine. I just did this so make sure we can kind of see everything properly. All right. All right, that looks good. So our structure model's in. Let's do this first. For floor plans, what I want to do is apply a template to it. And there might be a template already applied to this, but let's just double check it. So I'm on level 1. And I'm going to right click on my level 1 in the project browser and click apply template properties. And I'm just going to select architectural plan and hit OK. Looks like nothing's changed. And I doubt anything. Well, let's see my thin lines. There we go. Yeah, it looks like nothing's changed. So that one basically looks the same. I'm going to go to my level 2. Now my level 2 is already looking different, if you recall. I'm going to right click on that, apply template properties, just make sure that's on architectural plan. So that looks good. That looks better. So we're not seeing all that structural information in here. One thing I will want to see maybe is some information below. So let's check our view range. I'm just going to go to view range in my properties. My cut plane is at 4 feet. Let's change the bottom range to level below and view depth to level below. That's not what I want to see. Let me do that again. I'm sorry, view range. There we go. Well, let's just leave it at here for now. Let's just leave it as is for now for both the view range for both those. And if we ever need to change them, we'll do that. But that, where we're going to do that. So, okay. So far, so good. We haven't really added anything in our structural model yet aside datum elements, right? We've only added level markers, and grid lines. Okay, what I want to do now is make some structural drawings. Okay, so right now, these levels are just associated with the architectural, because these are floor plan views, but I want to make actual structural floor plans. So I'm going to go up to view, and I want to go to plan views, and I want to click on structural plan, and I want to click on level 1 and hit OK. Now notice in the project browser under structural plans, I now have one right here, level 1, and look at all the information that's on there that's not in our level 1 floor plan. Okay, so level 1 structural plans showing all those footings and foundations below it. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to rename it level 1 footings and foundations. I'll say footing and foundation plan. Would you like to rename corresponding level views? Yes. Ooh, I didn't want to do that. Sorry. You can just do Control Z to undo that if you're working with me. Level 1. I'll tell you why I didn't want to do that. Footing and foundation plan. Oh, just doesn't want to. Enter. Say no here. Okay, so because I want my level 1 floor plan just to be a level 1. I might rename this and I can call it level 1 floor plan. There we go. No. Okay, so now I have a footings and foundation plan for level 1, and I have a level 1 floor plan. There's nothing on it yet because there's nothing really drawn above that we're actually cut through, but we'll get there. Okay, let's go back to view, and let's go plan views again, structural plan, and let's do level 2 now. Okay, there we go. And let's rename this, and let's call it level 2 framing plan. So this is showing all the structural framing elements. I'm going to say no on that, and I'm going to go back up, plan views, structural plan, roof plan, and let's call that roof framing plan. Roof framing plan. There we go. Would you like? No. Okay, so this makes sense, right? Because I only have joists right in the middle here. If you look on my 3D drawing, right, only in the middle, these levels are lower. Okay, so I have a structural plan for level 1 footing and foundation plan, level 2 framing plan, and roof framing plan. So we have 3 views set up just for structural alone. So that looks really good. Okay, so here's my level 1 floor plan, nothing on it. Here's my level 2 floor plan, nothing on it. I'm going to rename this and just call it level 2 floor plan. Enter. There we go. And no. Okay. Good start. We've got some good views here of our architectural model. Let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to go File, Save As, Project. I'm going to save it right in that same folder, and I'm going to call it Kevin Kinney Architecture, or we'll just call it Architecture VO1. Save. Okay, I'm going to close all these other, I'm just going to open level 1 floor plan. I'm going to close everything else using my Close Inactive Windows button. There we go. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to set up some sheets. We're going to set up 3 structural sheets, level 1 footing and foundation plan, the framing plan, and the roof framing plan. And then we're going to set up our floor plan sheets. Okay, so what we need to do first is bring in that beautiful title block that you created. That's a family file. It's in the same folder as all these other files that we've been working in. So I'm going to go to Insert, Load Family, and I'm going to go to that file that I was just telling you about. Okay, so my week 6, in my case, has my architectural file, my structural file, and here's my title block that I created when we did the title block tutorial. Mine's maybe not as detailed and beautiful as yours because you've got some really good ones. I'm just going to hit open. Okay, it looks like nothing happened, right? That's because we haven't made a sheet yet. It's loaded in the project, but now we have to do the actual command that will show it. So I'm going to go up to View, and I'm going to go to Sheet Composition Panel and go to Sheet, and I'm going to select the title block that I just loaded in, Kevin Kinney title block 24 by 36, and hit OK. Okay, there it is. Now, if I look in my project browser, scroll down to the bottom, this is called A101 unnamed, right? Because that is what's in the actual title block. Let's change that right now. Let's call this, I'm going to hover over the label of the title page and call it S100. And I'm going to name this Footing and Foundation Plan. There's that O again. Don't like me. Click in space. There it is. Footing and Foundation Plan, S100 Footing and Foundation Plan. All right. If I change the S100 over here, like if I double click on the sheet and double click on it, or come on, baby. It's not letting me now. Well, you saw that little window. It just came up. I'm trying to get that back, but I'm not going to sweat it right now because you can do it right over here. Footing and Foundation Plan, S100, you can change them there. These, of course, are text boxes. I can't change them on here. The only way I can change them is if I go into the title block and change them. Okay, so we need to get our level 1 Footing and Foundation Plan view onto this sheet, right? So here's the view, right? But it's not on any sheet yet. So I'm going to go to my S100. I'm going to go up to my level 1 Footing and Foundation Plan. I just clicked it once with the left mouse button. Now I'm going to hold down with the left mouse button and drag my mouse over to the middle of the sheet and let go. And now it's asking me to place the view on the sheet. I'm just going to click once. And there we go. So now, if I can just zoom out a little bit, I just placed it. Okay, I didn't really think about it. I just put it on there. Here's what we have. If I hover over it, I can select it. I can move it around. I can position it where I want. It looks a little big because these elevation markers are in there. So here's what we're going to do. Don't sweat the title down here yet. We'll move that. I'm going to go to the actual Footing and Foundation Plan, level 1 Footing and Foundation. What I want to do, there's a couple ways to handle the elevation tags for now. We can move them closer. That'll probably be our best bet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a selection box over this, and I'm going to move this elevation marker right here so it's to the right of my leftmost kind of grid line. I'm going to do the same above. I'm just going to put it right here. On the right-hand side, I'll put it over here. And down here, I'll just put it right here. Okay, we made those changes. Now let's go to that sheet again. Okay, do you see how I just zoomed in and out and they just moved on me there? So now everything can fit on the sheet. So I'm going to move this up. Don't worry about the title yet. Just position this on the sheet that's in a good location. So I'm going to say, okay, I kind of like where that is, right about there. All right, now let's move the title itself. So if I click on the title, okay, I'm not clicking on the actual image. I'm clicking on the title. I'm just going to move that into position somewhere around here. Okay, but you can see that bar is going all the way over. This is a weird thing about Revit that I just don't get. So, okay, position the left edge of your title where you want it. When you got it where you want it, click the image once. And now, oh, look, a little dot there. I'm going to move that over to about right here. Here's how I like to place these titles. I like to position it where the actual architecture is. So imagine there's a line coming down here and a line coming down here. That's what I try to sort of line up with. I might just place that right there. Okay, so there, we've set up our first drawing in Revit with our title block, with our custom title block. We've put our footing and foundation plan on it. It's showing all that information on there. There's no text or tags or anything on there saying what is what, but that's fine for now. Let's just get this sheet set up. All right, now let's go to level 2 framing plan. I'm sorry, let's make a new sheet and let's go view, sheet, same title block. Okay, and we'll call this one. So we're on level 2 framing plan. Oh, let's call this S102, and I'm going to change the name, the sheet number of the footing and foundation plan to S101. That looks better. Because this is essentially the first floor. So this is our level 1 footing and foundation plan. So S101 is good. We'll do S102 here, and we'll call this level 2 framing plan. Okay, now I'm going to go up to my level 2 framing plan. Let's go ahead and look at that first. Our elevation markers are in the same location, right where I want them to be. Okay, now I'm just going to go to my sheet. I'm going to go click my level 2 framing plan once, left click and slide it over. I'm going to get it somewhere in a nice location. I'll put it right here. That looks good. All right, that one's sort of all set up just as is. I might play with my title a little bit, move that over. You don't want this thing creeping on your title block in any way or anything overlapping. You want it to be very nicely composed. Now here's something interesting. So we have 2 sheets set up, S101, S102. If I hit the little plus next to it, it'll tell me exactly what view is on that sheet. You might have 5 drawings listed on here. In this case, we only have 1 drawing listed on that sheet. That looks good. Okay, let's do the last one there, the roof framing plan. So I'm going to go up to view, sheet composition sheet, use my title block, S103, that's fine, and we'll call this roof framing plan. There we go, and I will go ahead and grab the roof framing plan and slide it over and position it in a location that makes sense. Go ahead and adjust what you want to adjust. Make it look nice. That's key. It's got to be composed well. If it's not readable, what good is it? So there we have it. 3 sheets set up. S101, level 1 framing. Yeah, let me go to that one. Level 1 framing plan. There it is. S102 and S103. And those are all accessing the structural plans that we set up. So in a way, our structural is sort of set up right now, and we want to move on to the architectural. So in the next video, we're going to set up the architectural floor plans, and we're going to start putting some walls in here. Okay, and that'll start really forming out our structure from an architectural perspective. Okay, stay tuned. I will be back.